Anyway, Jocelyn McGregor, how the
Me.
hell are you?
I mean, I'm coping because I feel like the best we can hope for in 2020. But I mean, all things considered, it's one of those things where like I'm doing okay.
Yeah,
Like we're hanging in there. It's not the worst. It's not the best.
we're
But we're chugging along.
we're
We're
making
innovating.
strides. Yeah. Do you want to I always try to like give like a quick bio about people, but then like I end up saying something about them. They're like, "Oh yeah, that was 10 years ago. I don't do that anymore." So, do you want to give yourself like a quick bio, anywhere between 30 seconds to 5 minutes? Tell us who you are.
Sure. I mean, everybody asks me this while I'm tattooing them. So the sweet and condensed version is I've been an artist my whole life. I mean, throughout high school, throughout junior high, like I went to college for art. My mom looked at me as a science teacher. She was like, Jocelyn, like, what are you going to do with an art degree? And I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. So I went to college for art, took one photography class, fell in love with photography, ended up majoring in photography, got my degree in that, basically like minored in graphic design, graduated during the 2008 crash,
Mm.
and so started bartending, then started getting tattooed, then started working for my tattoo artist, like taking pictures for her and like building her website and stuff. And at some point she asked me if I want to learn how to tattoo. And I thought she was bluffing. So I called her bluff and she wasn't bluffing. So she taught me how to tattoo.
Wow.
And I've never looked back. And it's honest to God, tattooing is the best job in the entire world. I love it to death. I could do it all day, every day. The only thing I love more than tattooing is my daughter.
Someday, do you hope to tattoo her?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, when she's 18.
No,
Uh,
yeah, I wouldn't
but,
mean like next week or something. Like, yeah.
but like, yeah, I mean, she's only 2. So, I mean, she's got a while, but who knows? I mean, mom might not be cool because, who thinks their parents are cool? So she may not want to get tattooed or may not want to get tattooed by me. And that's fine. She can make that choice.
Oh,
She makes that choice.
where did you go to art school?
I went to Sac State. Well, I went to Cosumnes River College here in town in Sacramento and did the junior college route for a couple of years and got my feet
Okay.
wet and like took a bunch of different classes and then transferred to Sac State and got my degree there.
So you're
Yep.
made at Sac State.
Yep. Sure am.
Okay, so tattooing was not what you were thinking. So when you started as when you're like your third year, you're deep into it, you're getting an arts degree. What were you anticipating you were going to do with that? Was it going to be photography?
I think by year 3 of college, I was deep into photography.
Hmm.
So that's absolutely what I thought I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. And honestly, like I'd wanted to be a tattooer since I was in high school. Like I
Oh,
used to
okay.
tell people, like I used to draw on my friends at lunch in the quad
Uh-huh.
with Sharpies. And I'd tell everybody like, oh, I'm going to be a tattooer. But like, I had no idea how I was going to achieve that. So the next logical thing was to go to college. So my mom's an educator and she was like, you got to go to college. So I was like, cool, I'll do that. So I lost track of the tattooing thing for a long time and got into photography, fell in love with that. I was a wedding photographer for a while, like while
Uh-huh.
I was bartending and trying to make ends meet in the Great Recession, as it were. So yeah.
What so do you still do photography just as a side project or just for fun? Do you still have the camera? You take
Oh,
it
I
out
still
like
have all my equipment. The only time I usually bust it out these days is to take pictures of my kid and to take
okay.
pictures of like my art.
Right,
Um,
for like your Etsy page and your like for your portfolio type stuff.
yeah. But as much as I hate to admit it, like iPhone cameras and phone cameras have gotten so good that half the time, like I don't need to take out a big giant DSLR camera. Like I can snap a good photo. I can do a little bit of editing just to color correct, if the lighting's too pink or, too dark or whatever. Um, but yeah, I barely bust out my camera anymore and I miss it. But, you know, I got a 2-year-old and I got a tattooing career and I got to make all this art. So I don't always have time for photography these days.
Right. It comes down to like functionality, right? It's just like
Totally.
this, it's a lot easier to do this. Um, I first caught wind of your art when the protests were going on, and you were part of a project called, was it Boards for Change?
Yeah, Boards for Change.
And you did um the Pink Floyd tribute, right? That was you, right?
Did,
Oh,
yep.
I'd be so embarrassed if you're like, no, that wasn't me.
No, it
But
wasn't me at all. I don't know what you're talking
okay,
about.
so during those days, the art that I saw popping up around Sacramento was really like something that just warmed my heart, and it inspired me, and it excited me, and it was one of the first reasons for me to get in my car and drive around the city. And I have an SLR, right? But I didn't take that camera, just like you said. I had my iPhone,
Yep.
and I was just on the Boards for Change Instagram, punching in addresses and driving around and taking pictures of all of these great pieces. And I love Pink Floyd. Love, love,
Yeah.
love Pink Floyd. And that piece grabbed me. You want to talk about that piece and your work with Boards for Change?
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm really glad to hear that the boards and the art that popped up around Sacramento inspired you to go and look, because like that's what art's supposed to do, right? It's supposed to move you, whether it's physically or emotionally or spiritually. Yeah, so I sort of created that art piece um, after the death of George Floyd, and I was at home. I wasn't, obviously I couldn't tattoo at the time. And I had just created this piece, and I didn't know what to do with it. I just knew that I had to create it. So I like drew it out on my iPad and like sketched it all out and stuff. And I had no idea where it was going to go. And then Boards for Change popped up, and a friend of mine tagged me in one of their posts.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're like, Joss, you should do this. And I'm not a muralist by trade, but I was like it all just sort of gelled in that moment where I was like, this is where that art piece needs to go. And so I was lucky enough to be paired with Honey Salon, and she didn't even ask me what I was going to paint. She was like, I just have this space. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I've got an art piece like I want to put on there. She was like, awesome. This is this and that is that and whatever. And she didn't ask me what I was going to put up there. She had like no preconceived notions about like what I would paint. Eventually she actually asked me for she's like, oh, do you have a preview? Like, I want to see it. And so I sent her the preview, and she was like, oh dude, that's dope. Like, that's going to be so cool. And I was like, sweet, awesome. Like I was really excited to do it. I'm obviously like a huge Pink Floyd fan, and the wall is such an amazingly all of their music is amazing and deep and has just so many layers of meaning to it. But it's an interesting juxtaposition to put the deep layers of meaning of Pink Floyd's The Wall into a piece of art about, people who have passed, and
Right.
people who have been killed, and people who have been murdered. And it's forcing, people to look at this wall that we've built, this, wall that we've built out of,
So it
all.
was a wall that was built out of names, right? Of
Yeah.
the names that the victims of this ongoing. Yeah, I get it. And speaking of Pink Floyd and the thematic undertones of Pink Floyd music, I was listening to, it was probably Dark Side
Mm-hmm.
recently, because that's my favorite. And it was late at night, elevated, and my mind went there. And for a minute I was like, was this stuff written this year? Like,
Yeah.
it's still like we don't, like they say, we're destined to repeat our mistakes, and like we're going there again. It's, I don't know, it was a powerful piece.
Yeah.
So it was powerful enough that at the time I had started doing this thing where I was sending postcards to friends. And let me tell you, it started with my good friend Nicole Eichenberg. I was going through this period in my head where I was like, this stuff is just material. I hold on to these things that I think are valuable, but they're not, and blah, blah, blah. And I took the postcard from Wish You Were Here
Mm,
and I wrote on it and I put a stamp on it and I mailed it to my good friend Nicole Eichenberg.
so,
And people were like, I can't believe you freaking did that. I'm like, what am I keeping it for?
yeah.
Why? And it cheered Nicole up that day. Like it made, you know what I'm saying? So I was going
Hmm.
through this thing where I was sending postcards. So then that's when I reached out to you and
Yeah.
I said, do you mind if I, and I think I showed you how I was going to do it.
Hmm.
And you said, go for it. And I think I sent out 5 postcards of your George Floyd, The Wall homage. I was so excited. And yeah, so you weren't a muralist before that, huh?
No, no. I mean, I'd worked in lots of different mediums, but certainly not a mural. I mean, I like legit, like, I don't even know if I used the right paint for it. Like, I went to Home Depot and I was just like, I need a white exterior paint. I need, this and that. And
Uh-huh.
went and did the thing.
Do you know where it ended up?
You know what? I don't. I know they auctioned them all off. I'm not sure who won my piece specifically. I was tempted to bid on it myself, and just buy my own artwork so I could, like, put it up in front of my house or something.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I,
uh,
I was tempted to bid on a couple of pieces myself, but I was like, I don't know. I think these are going to go for a little bit more than I'm comfortable spending. I don't know. But I never checked to see what they were. I did end up with, so this is also,
oh yeah.
so this was one of them, and she did prints and stickers. And
Mhm.
I was able to get a hold of this. So I'm glad I have that of what's going, kind of to remember what happened in our city and like I don't know, then to support an artist. So
Sure.
the pandemic hits, your tattoo business was going good. How was that going?
I mean, up until the pandemic hit, my was gangbusters. I mean, I usually open my books like a couple times a year, and I fill up all the spots I need to book within 24 hours.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
the last time I did booking was October 3rd of 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and so many people submitted with so many amazing ideas. I just couldn't say no. I think I shouldn't have taken on as many as I did because it was a lot, but I took on, I think, 178 pieces in that booking. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, well, this is my year. This is what I'm going to be doing for the next year. And I'll open my books again on October 3rd, 2020. Because it's Mean Girls Day. Because on October 3rd, he asked me what day it was. And I said it was October 3rd. Um, so that's how deep I am into Mean Girls. But so I took on like a massive amount of pieces because they were just fabulous ideas from fabulous clients that I really just wanted to do. And I was like, chugging my way through them and booking and booking and booking. And pandemic hits, and I had to stop working and shut down. And I emailed everybody that I hadn't tattooed yet. And I emailed everybody that I already had like appointments set for. Um, and I was like, hey guys, like, this is what's happening. I don't know when I'm going to be back. I'm going to keep you updated as much as I possibly can. But know that you're still in my queue. Know that I'm looking forward to tattooing you. And everybody has been really gracious about it, and really gracious about waiting. And then we were open back up June 19th. We were able to open back up, and we were only open for 3 weeks, and they shut us down again.
when
So
when they allowed you to open back up, was it with, well, you could only tattoo one person at a time anyway, so it's not like you're letting 20 people in the shop at a time. So when they allowed you to open back up, was it pretty much business as usual at that point?
yes and no. So basically, so Cal OSHA decided like what the new restrictions were for tattooing. And quite honestly, the only thing that we as practitioners had to do differently was wear a mask. We are already so compliant as far as, I mean, we're trained in cross-contamination and aseptic technique and bloodborne pathogens and all of these things. Like,
Wow.
our shop is so clean Like I would rather get surgery or get stitched up in our shop than go to an emergency room. Like it's
Yeah.
that clean. And not only is it that clean, but you can't get tattooed if you're sick because your immune system is already compromised and we're creating a wound on your body that also then activates your immune system. So like we do all of the same cleaning procedures as like dentists and doctors' offices, but nobody gets to come in if they're sick already.
Right.
So as practitioners, the only additional thing we had to do on top of all of the cleaning and everything that we already do was wear a mask. The other restrictions that came down were all things that we had to put onto our clients. So obviously our clients have to wear masks. We do temperature checks at the door, hand sanitizer, hand washing. They have to sign a form that says, you know, they haven't been in contact with anybody with a confirmed case of COVID and that they haven't traveled. We're not allowed to tattoo anybody who has traveled outside of our area in the last 14 days.
Okay.
So we can't take clients that like fly in. We have clients that fly in from other states to get tattooed. Can't do that right now unless they want to quarantine in beautiful Sacramento for 14 days.
There's worse places, man.
True. And we can't have anybody in the station with the artist except for the client. So they can't bring a support person with them.
Okay.
Used to be, you know, you bring your best friend and they
Yeah,
can paint
yeah,
while
yeah.
you're getting tattooed. Can't do that anymore. And they have to call into the shop when they get there and we let them in when we're ready. We take them directly back to the station. You obviously can't wander around the shop and check everything out and stuff like that. And we can't have an active waiting room.
Okay. So
So
you were only open for how long?
we were open for 3 weeks, June 19th through July 13th, I want to
What
say.
happened in July that shut it down? Because it seemed like the restrictions barely tightened back up again just recently.
We had another spike and um, they went up far
Oh,
enough
so
that,
that was the spike.
yeah,
That was the first big spike. And so
yeah.
you guys haven't reopened since that spike.
No, so we closed down July like 13th ish because we had that big spike after 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put in the tiered system in place. So now we've got like purple, red, orange, green, blue. I don't know.
All we've known is purple and
All I
red.
know is purple and red.
Yeah, that's all I know is purple and red, man.
Yeah. So they put that tiered system into place and they said once we get into the red tier, we are allowed to open again. So we were
Okay.
actually allowed to reopen September 29th. And we've been open since then. Now we've just recessed back into the purple tier, but personal care services can still operate in the purple tier with restrictions, which basically means what we've been doing.
Okay.
So like estheticians, I think, are still open. Hairstylists are still doing their thing. Tattooing, what else? Massage and waxing are allowed to operate. And I think, I don't know, but I think they kind of figured out that we weren't the problem. Like we're not seeing, you know,
Right.
we're
Right.
not contact tracing back to tattoo shops. We're
Mm-hmm.
contact tracing to family gatherings and I don't know, like other big gatherings and places where you're yelling or breathing hard, like, I don't know, maybe gyms or churches or something. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but
Yeah.
I do know that like there, as far as I know, there has not been a case linked to a tattoo shop in Sacramento.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. So after the George Floyd wall art, several weeks later, and I want to say this was like late August, first week of September, you posted some prints that you were letting go, and then that's when I picked that piece up from you.
Yeah.
That that hangs in all places my bathroom because it's just a beautiful.
Oh, I love it. I love bathroom art.
It's great to sit and look at. Like
Yeah.
it's great.
There's
It's
a lot
great.
going on.
There's a
There's
lot
of
going
detail.
on. I love it. Where did those pieces originate from? Is that something you had always been doing, or was that pandemic idleness that made you do that?
A little bit of both. So they're acrylic paintings, and I've always been an acrylic painter, as well as an watercolor painter. But I mean, I had a ton of acrylics on hand, and I think I saw I'd been seeing a few videos of this like acrylic pouring process pop up, and I was like, that looks so dope and it looks so soothing. Like, I want to try it. So I did a deep dive. I did a bunch of research, and figured out like, you know, the basics of how like the mechanics of acrylic pouring worked. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to see what happens. And it was so much fun and it was so soothing. And as a tattooer, you're doing like with the work that I do, it's all commission work. So everything that I do tattoo wise is something that someone has asked me for. And I love
Mm,
that. I'm like, you guys tell me what you want and then I just get to draw it. I don't have to come up with the idea. You just tell me the things that you're looking for and then I get to take it from there.
right.
But this this type of artwork is so abstract. It's really nothing and everything at the same time. So I don't have to think about what I'm going to paint. All I have to think about is color and color theory, and you mix up all the paints and you create this color palette, and you just go with it. And I've been started actually making some videos, some like time-lapse videos, because I had a few people ask me, they're like, oh, I just want to see the process, like it's so soothing. And I'm like, it really is. Like,
It
I love
is.
doing it because it's so soothing. And then
You've
so
got
yeah.
you've got a couple of videos of it on your Instagram right now,
Mhm. Yep.
and it's I have a few close friends that I talk to, and they'll be asking me, so who's next on your podcast? Who's next on your podcast? And everyone that I sent it to, they're like, this is amazing. They're like, it's awesome. I was blown away by the furniture you did for a mutual friend we have, Laura.
Oh yeah.
You want to talk about that? Because that's kind of big. That was a
Dude,
lot.
okay. So I started doing the acrylic pouring thing. In the midst of that, I also rage painted my kitchen and like changed the color palette in my kitchen, like painted all my kitchen cabinets, which was like a whole fucking endeavor. Let me tell you, if you ever decide to paint your kitchen cabinets, do your research because that shit is fucking annoying. But I picked this color scheme for my kitchen, and I've been meaning to refinish my kitchen table. So I was like, well, fuck it. I'm gonna pour paint it and epoxy it. And I didn't know if it was gonna work. It took me like 9 or 10 cups of paint, and like it was a 2-person job to like move the table around to get it because it's a huge table. But it turned out great and I was stoked on it. So I was like, I want to do more of these. I hadn't really seen any pour painted furniture before, but I was like, well, if I fuck up my own kitchen table, like it's just
Right. Yeah. What do you got to lose?
yeah. I can always just strip it and paint it black. So I did that. I had like posted that. I did a piece on Laura. I've tattooed a few things on her, but I was doing a piece on her while we were, I think it was while we were still open in June. And I was like chatting with her about this painting I was getting into. And then, yeah, one thing to another, she goes, hey, could you do that on my living room tables? And I was like, well, yeah, let me check them out. And do the tops come off them? Because it's easier for me to paint if, all these things. So she sends me all these pictures. We exchanged some info, and I was like, dude, I'm down. Like, let's go. So she had a coffee table. It was like rectangular, and like 2 square end tables. And she took the tops off of them and brought me the tops. And I poured them. She said she was going for this sort of peacock themed color scheme in her living room. She sent me pictures of what she had in her living room already, so I kind of matched colors.
I was gonna ask that. Yeah.
Totally, like match colors to her living room. I also know that she is hella into glitter. So I ordered some like custom peacock, like iridescent color changey glitter. So I've got like glitter in there. I've got chunky glitter. I've got fine glitter. And I just pour painted these tables, and it was a blast. They turned out great. I was trying so hard to get good pictures of them and good video. And despite my fucking degree in photography, I could not get good pictures of these tables. But they're so in depth, and they're so dimensional. And they turned out just fabulous. I'm kind of jealous that I had to give them back because I would have rocked them in my own house. But yeah.
Fucking blew me away when I saw them. I was like, this is some next level shit. This is That's funny. You asked me if you could cuss, and that
Yeah.
I'm the first one that like, but I was just like, wow, like that was amazing. And do you have more of those? Well, right now you're doing the charcuterie boards. That same.
Yeah. So I've found this like technique that I'm working on of painting that looks like waves crashing, right? With different
Yeah,
like
it's exactly
blue
what it
ocean
looks like.
tones.
Yeah.
So I've been playing around with that. I love cheese. I love charcuterie.
Who doesn't?
If I could just eat cheese and crackers and salami and drink wine all the time, like my life would, which is what I've been doing to keep myself sane. So I was like, cool, like I'll pour on some boards. Like, let's do that. So I've been doing a bunch of those. I also have, I've done a few like commission pieces for tables for folks. I'm actually in the middle of working on, well, it's almost done, a dinette table for my friend's camper that she lives in.
Sweet.
And she's like redoing some upholstery in there. So I like poured it to match like her interior for the camper. I've got a couple other ones that I've been chatting with folks about. I also have like my husband, bless his heart, went on Craigslist and found a bunch of tables that people were getting rid of. And so I
Mm.
have like literally with no legs on them right now, I have like a stack of tabletops that I'm just waiting to pour that are like, I mean, I have everything from like little like 22 by 22 IKEA end tables to like huge round like dining tables, and I've got like a big like rectangular dining table that I'm gonna do some more pouring. So, but now I have to like run a space heater in my garage so the paint dries.
Oh man. So now your art's kind of going in all these different directions. Is it hard to like manage your time right now as far as like what am I going to do today? Because these aren't 20-minute projects that you're talking about, right? Like how long did Laura's project take you?
I mean, Laura's project, the three tables, I mean, I poured them all at once, and then I did the epoxy layer all at once, and then I did the second layer of epoxy all at once. But I had her tables for probably 10 days, maybe 2 weeks in total.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, I mean, I kind of put a hustle on it because like the drying time is the killer for me right now because it's getting cooler and paint doesn't dry as fast if it's not warm and dry.
Yeah.
So, an epoxy doesn't cure under a certain temperature.
Did you
So,
know all of this going into it, or did you
nope.
were you finding all this out as you go? Like, why
Nope.
isn't it drying?
I kind of found this out as I went. And the tables, particularly like pouring the furniture, they take even longer to cure. So I've poured canvases. I started with canvases, and then I started pouring like flower pots because everybody and their mom is into houseplants, including myself. So I was doing some pots, and like terracotta pots will dry super fast because they're really porous. So it sucks all the moisture away from
Yeah, I got it. Uh-huh.
paint, right? And canvases will dry pretty quick because they've got airflow on top of and underneath the canvas. But tables just have to dry. And they can't dry too fast, or the top layer of paint will dry first and then it'll crack. Like when, like, you ever made pudding and you get that pudding skin
Yeah, yeah.
like on the top of pudding when you cook it and like it cracks and stuff, because yeah, that's what happens, and then they don't look as pretty. So
So it's been a long
it's
learning
a full process.
process.
And then
Yeah.
I have to manage my time between tattooing, prepping art for tattoos, um, painting, and doing the acrylic stuff, and then also living my life and spending time with my kiddo and my family, and
Right. Quality time, right? Like,
yeah.
so I'm assuming it's you're a no days off kind of person. You just have to manage every day
Yep.
to its fullest. Is that what it's like?
I mean, that's basically what I've been like my whole life, but certainly, and especially, well, no, just my whole life. Yeah. I mean, even back in college, like I was working full time. I had a full load of credits, in school, and I was in extracurricular things, or like when I was at Sac State, I was the graphic design editor for the newspaper. So
Okay.
like, yeah, I've always kind of never stopped.
Stopping.
Just keep the hustle all the fucking time. So,
Man. So where do you see your art, like in the, like, what would you like it to evolve to? Like more tattooing or more art?
I mean, I want to get back to tattooing all the time.
Really?
Honestly, I love doing the pour stuff,
Uh-huh.
but I certainly don't want that to be my main focus. Like tattooing is my love, my passion. Like
Okay.
I want to tattoo all day every day.
Uh-huh.
But it's not possible right now. So the acrylic pouring stuff like is fabulous and I love it. And it's a really good balance between what I do with tattooing, and like the control aspect of tattooing and uh, the freedom aspect of pouring, because you just pour some paint and you don't know exactly where it's going to go. You kind of have to let the paint do its own
The
thing.
paint kind of tells you what we're gonna do, right?
Right. As opposed
Like,
to when I'm tattooing, I'm like, I'm going to pull this line. I'm going to shade this thing. Um, so it's a good balance for me, but I certainly like, I would much rather be tattooing all the time.
right. Wow.
But
So it,
I don't think I'm going to stop doing the acrylic pours because they're just so much fun and people love them. So,
so it's just gonna have to be like, you're just gonna have to find that right balance of time to give to tattooing and time to give to pouring,
yep.
and like being able to make all the customers happy. Because right now, like, I'm thinking to myself, shoot, if I want a Jocelyn tattoo, I'm probably waiting till 2022.
I mean, I hope not, but I mean, I've
You
got,
just sound that busy.
yeah, I mean, I still have like a stack of folks that I have to get to,
Right
that
from the
like,
first shutdown, right from the first.
right, that have been waiting, that submitted their ideas and I accepted their ideas over a year ago and I
Uh-huh.
haven't been able to get to them. And I should have been done. Like, had the pandemic not happened, I would have been done with all of those projects by now and
Uh-huh.
taking new projects. Um, so yeah, it fucking kills me. It absolutely breaks my heart to have to turn people away. But like, it also breaks my heart to make all of my, you know, the folks in my queue like wait.
Yeah,
But
because the thing about a tattoo is that, like, people wait their whole lives sometimes to get a tattoo. Like, they wait until their 18th birthday, or they fell in love, or they got divorced, or somebody passed away. Like, it's like a tattoo is a monumental thing. It's not just going and buying a record. You know what I'm saying? It's like so much goes into a tattoo, and to like have to like wait even longer, like that does kind of suck, you know?
yeah, I mean, I understand that. Like when I get to a point where I know what my next tattoo is going to be, I'm like, okay, let's do it. And I don't have the greatest amount of patience. And I do the same thing that everybody else does, where like I find an artist and I like follow them on Instagram and then I stalk their shit and I'm like, their shit is so dope. I want all of their shit all over my body. And then they'll like put out a sweatshirt and I'm like, oh, that's dope. I can't have a tattoo by them right now. I'm going to buy that sweatshirt. I'm going to buy that pair of shoes. I'm going to, I'm going to hang that on my wall. I'm going to hang that in my bathroom, and like I'll just stalk them until I can get a tattoo by them. But yeah, I mean, I personally, like, there's artists that I followed for years and years and years that I still haven't gotten tattooed by. And hopefully I will someday.
That's
So
that's
get that.
awesome. That's so great, because like that's exactly what I do. Like, I'm like, I always call myself a fanboy. Like, I find something I like and I obsess over it, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so dope. Look at this and look at this.
Mhm.
Like, and but with my tattoos, I've been really lucky that I have had some type of a connection with everyone that ended up tattooing me. And
Mhm.
the last one I got, uh, this one right
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
So it's so weird. Is that, can you see it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I see it. Okay.
Um, I used to work at a record store
Mm-hmm.
at the warehouse, which is like the Tower Records, right?
Yeah.
And I worked there for 7 years, so I watched some kids grow up. Like I
Mm-hmm.
watched some kids buy their first Bob Marley record all of a sudden one Sunday morning when they were still like a little bit hungover, and they're like, I got to get into Bob Marley now,
Right.
or I saw some kid buy his first fucking Green Day CD, or, you know, and the night we decided to get these tattoos, we went into a tattoo shop. I grew up in Bakersfield. We went
Mm-hmm.
to a tattoo shop in Bakersfield, and they're like, we'll be with you in a second. We're like, okay. And this head pops up from the back and says, I'm tattooing him. No one else is tattooing him. I'm tattooing him. And my friend, she was like, who was that? And I was like, I don't know. So like I was looking at him, and I was looking at him, and I was looking at him, and I was like, you know what? That's fucking George Quick Jr. Some kid. He lives in Reno now, of all
Yeah.
places. I pointed like you could see. He lives in Reno now,
I get
of all places. But I watched him grow up. Like he used to come in and rent movies with his dad,
Oh no shit.
and
That's
and
fucking dope
and I
though.
watched him like just be like this regular kid to be this kid with the mohawk, and like,
Mhm.
he just got all into punk rock, and I watched this transition unfold in front of me, and
Mhm.
then like of course lost track of him, like he's just a customer, but
Right.
now here we were 10 years later, and he's a fucking tattoo artist, and I'm sure he probably tells the story in reverse,
Right.
of like, oh, this dude used to sell me all these cool I hope so, I don't know, but
Hopefully. I mean,
yeah.
I would tell that story. I'd be
Yeah,
like, yeah, dude, so this guy, and then he comes in, and I got to tattoo him after all those years of like selling me all that cool shit.
yeah. But I was supposed to go see George like the first week of January,
Hmm.
and I'm positive I caught COVID the first week of January because I got sick as a dog, and I
Yeah.
was down for like 3 weeks with just this horrible fever, these horrible chills, this cough that would not go away. And I attributed my losing of smell and taste to that. All I was eating was, I would wake up like every other day and order spicy ramen from
Yeah.
whatever place I could find on DoorDashers.
Yeah.
So and I ended up canceling that because I was going to drive up to Reno one Sunday, but I ended up canceling, and then the pandemic hit, and
Oh,
I don't
dude,
know.
I am so sorry. That sucks. And to be like that sick and just be like, oh, I must have the flu, and then to later on be like,
Yeah,
oh shit.
maybe it was COVID. I don't know. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. The people who have had COVID tell me no, it wasn't. But I don't know. I don't know. It was horrible.
I don't know, man. Like I had a good friend of mine, like their whole family got sick. I think it was right around then, like end of December, and allegedly like COVID wasn't here yet or whatever, but everything that they like felt and got sick with, like signs pointed to COVID. And my good friend Morgan, who is our family photographer, I tattooed her the like second week of February.
Mhm.
And I mean, I knock on wood, I mean, I was lucky, but her and her husband caught COVID end of February, like 10 days after I saw her, they got
Yeah.
sick.
So that's
And
technically when it wasn't here yet either, right?
right, but
Yeah.
they were super sick. And like her brother's an EMT, and at some point he like came over or like FaceTimed her or something and was like, if you're not better in 24 hours, I'm taking you to the emergency room. And eventually like their fevers broke and they felt better. But they didn't know it was COVID because it
Right.
wasn't supposed to be here yet. The only reason that they knew was they got an antibody test a little while
Oh.
later and they had antibodies.
Uh-huh.
But I was actually tattooing her the day we got shut down in July. And she had just gotten done telling me that she had done another antibody test and she didn't have any antibodies left.
Hmm.
So she got COVID in the end of February, and by July, her antibody load was gone. So she could get
Yeah.
it again. And she said it
Yeah.
was awful. And yeah.
Yeah. It's been a crazy, what's it, 8 months, 9 months now? And of course, like nobody expected this year to happen. And like, of course, like we all want this year behind us, but when you look back at this year, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, like what you were able to learn and gain as an artist, are you still going to think like, are you going to think it was a horrible time, or are you going to think it was an enlightening time?
Well, I think that's a really loaded question because
And
I,
remember, you can cuss because you
I
might have
think
to.
2020, if one of the things that we have learned from 2020 is to not be so fucking selfish. We have to think about other people, whether you've thought about other people your whole life, whether you're an empath, whether you are not. 2020 has taught us to care and give a shit about other people. At least it should have. If it
Hopefully.
hasn't, I don't get it. But like, we're wearing masks not just for ourselves, but for other people. And we're social distancing for ourselves and for other people. We are out marching in the streets. We are advocating for social justice. We are voting, not just for our own interests, but for the interests of other people and the betterment of other people and society. So for me to look back in 10 years on 2020, personally, I've had a lot of artistic growth this year and a lot of great things. And there's been a lot of enlightening moments about stepping back and taking stock of like what's important, what's not important, what I need to do to move forward, but also what I need to do to not just move myself forward, but my family and my community. And so there's been a lot of positive reflection with regard to that. But so many people have struggled so terribly this year. So for me to look back on 2020 and go, oh, as shitty as that was, like whatever, it was really enlightening for me, seeing
Gotcha.
like, it doesn't seem right.
Because I
Um,
get what you're saying, because you're saying like that the big takeaway from 2020 is that we let go of thinking of only ourselves, right?
right.
Even
Um,
though there was these personal growths, there's no way to look back and say it wasn't that bad, you know?
right.
Yeah, because it has been bad, right?
Yeah. We're gonna look back on 2020 and be like, look at how many people died for all of these different reasons, not just for COVID,
Right.
but, and we're going to look back at, I mean, when they write these history books, hopefully they'll write them appropriately,
Mm-hmm.
um, which is a whole nother topic we can get into, but I don't think we have time for that today. Uh,
Right.
but like, it's shitty. Like this year was shitty and there was a lot of really awful stuff that happened. And yeah, I think personally we can take some growth from it and we can look glass half full. But we can't observe a glass half full without also saying, well, it is also half empty. Um, and I think the bigger takeaway is just being able to see all of that.
And I think I'll take your glass half full reference and say that now going forward, it's up to us, as you said, as a community, of like, what are we going to fill that glass back up with, right?
Right.
Are we gonna take what we've learned and fill it back up with like harmony and community and
Yep.
growth,
I
or are
hope.
we gonna keep spilling it until it's empty, right? But and
Right.
hopefully it's the first option, you know, because I think touching on it, like I mean, like uh one of the things that like I study psychology a lot, and one of the things that like the one theme that always resonates with me and that I tell myself when I'm thinking of what I'm putting out into the world is that it takes a village, like, and we all have a place in that village to like not only look out for ourselves but to lead by example, right? And like how you said, like we don't necessarily wear a mask for ourselves but to keep from infecting others, right? And like I think we really need to look like within our own community and build from there. And then hopefully the ripple effects will just spread out into the greater of the world. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's exciting and it's scary and it's like
Yeah.
we'll get there though,
That's
right?
what it is. It's a big
Yeah. How many times have you done that this year, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it. You know,
Yeah.
we might be exhausted for a while. And there's been a lot of people who have been exhausted for a long time, that if you're not exhausted yet, we're picking up the slack for all those people that are exhausted. Let's give them a break. Let's move us forward. Let's, and like you said, like we need to keep filling the cup of our community and whether that be local or regional or global, like we got to start being nice to each other, man.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got to start being good to each
We
other.
do. We got to,
and
well,
doing right.
we got to one of my favorite songs by U2, one where he just keeps resonating. We got to carry each other. We got to carry each other, you know? Was this shift a little bit because I see you wearing it and I know it's like the next one of your newer projects, but you're wearing your sweater, your
I am.
your
I
hoodie.
actually was, like, trying to figure out what I wanted to wear, and I was like, oh, duh, I should wear the thing that I made and I'm selling, because
Yeah.
that just seems like something I should do.
The
Also, comfy as fuck, and I love wearing this thing. I fucking live in this thing now. So.
The RBG inspired tee is dope as fuck too.
Thank you. So yeah, so my photographer Morgan Alana Photography, she's the dopest shit ever. So she's a good friend of mine, and we had talked about doing an RBG like feminist piece for her for months. And so after Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, she was like, well, we have to do it. We have to do it right now. And I was like,
right now,
I'm here for it. Let's do it. We've been working on another big piece for her. And she was like, nope, let's shift. Let's do the RBG piece. RGB?
RBG, yeah.
I think I said that
RBG,
wrong.
Yeah. I think we're doing it, yeah.
RBG. I get it confused with, because CMYK and
BIG?
And no, so red, blue, green, RB. Wait, never mind.
Yeah.
We'll get back. Somebody out there who's going to listen to this and be like, oh yeah, CMYK, I get it. Anyway.
Yeah. Somebody is at a stop sign right now yelling, RBG!
Right. And now my creative brain is like, wait, is that, never mind. So, so I designed the piece for her, and she gave me complete and total freedom to do it. And so I was like, resist fist with like the cross at the bottom for like the female symbol, and then one of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's like iconic collars like makes the circle around the top. And it was just, I was stoked on it. Like I put all these little flower designs like in the bottom portion, and I finished the design, and I like I'm not even overblowing this. Like I finished the design and I sat back and I like looked at what I did and I fucking cried, because I was like, this is like, it's so powerful to me. It resonates so much with me. I knew it was going to resonate with her. And there were so many layers of intentional and unintentional meaning that sort of weave their way through it as I was designing it. And so I tattooed it on her.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, and it's technically a very difficult tattoo. Like if you look at like all of the lines that create her collar, yeah, I had to do some hard blinks that day because a lot of overlapping lines. But her and I were talking about it, and I was like, would you be interested? Would you let me, would you be okay with me putting this on, a t-shirt or a print or a sweatshirt or whatever? And she was like, at this point, I'd be mad if you didn't. Like, do that, please. She was like, I want to wear this twice. So she has the tattoo. She also has the sweatshirt. And I made one for her. She was the first person to get one of the like promo ones that I had my screen printer, Chris, from Red 5 Design, who is a friend of mine forever, does all my printing for me, printed us a couple promos so we could like take some pictures.
Yeah.
And all of that. But yeah, I'm stoked on the design. I hope everybody's as excited about it as I am. And the sweatshirts are comfy as fuck and they're super cozy. So.
And it's sweatshirt season right now. It is absolutely sweatshirt season. I picked up a hoodie the other day from Stab Comedy.
Oh, dope.
I picked this up the other day, and I'm wearing my Abolish ICE shirt from my homies over at Sacramento Made.
Nice.
So I moved to Sacramento 7 years ago, and I fucking love it here. I love the artists. I love the comedy. I love the food. I love everything. It's a great town.
Yep.
And I think it's full of a lot of great, interesting people. And I want to thank you for coming on today, man. I don't book my guests too far in advance because I don't know, that's just how I roll. And I was having my morning coffee. Was it Wednesday or Thursday? And my roommate walks out. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm thinking about messaging this artist to see if she'll do my podcast." And she was, "I'll do it." And I was like, "Okay." And I did it. And you responded right away. And I was stoked. I was driving when I got your response, and I just saw that it. Like I read the first line, I was like, "Oh, that's a yes."
Yeah.
Yeah.
An emphatic yes.
Yeah, because I think you said that sounds dope. Like it was like it wasn't a like, well, let me check it out and I'll get back to you. And no, it wasn't anything like that. It was definitely a yes. And then I'm so glad that we did this. And this was a really great talk. And I think after this talk, I'm gonna do a deep. That was great.
Yeah.
And I will. Don't worry about trying to plug your stuff right now, but maybe send me over who the photographer and the print artist are, because I would definitely like to acknowledge them as well. Sure. And any last words you got to say before we shut it down?
I don't know, man. I feel like I've said a lot. I sort of know it.
You said a lot.
I have no short stories.
They shouldn't be, man, because these are experiences that lead us to. Where are you? Is that a background, or are you like in a gazebo?
No, I have this chair.
Oh, it's that chair. Look at that.
It's a cool chair. So I like, I've wanted one of these for a long time. My mom used to have one of those crazy like peacock chairs from the 70s. And when we moved from Minnesota, she got rid of it. And now I'm like kicking myself because they're super fucking expensive if you find them. But yeah, I like saw this chair on like an auction site, and they're usually like $300, and I got it for like $65. So that's
I love auctions. I love thrifting. I love estate sale. I just went to an estate sale this morning and picked up some really cool stuff. And of course, some records, because I love records. So yeah. What's your favorite Pink Floyd?
I mean, probably The Wall. That's really like what I started listening to Pink Floyd. I think it was like junior high. But there's like bits and pieces from each album that I really like. Incidentally, if you ever find a vinyl of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida from Iron Butterfly, I've been trying to find one of those.
I think I have one.
I have not been able to find one. My uncle has my mom's vinyl of In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida that she gave him, and he won't give it to me.
I
had it for like 30 years.
I think I have it, and I'm not sure the condition it's in, but I might be messaging you later on.
All right, deal. I'll trade you a painting for it.
If
you're willing to part with it.
They're just records to me. You know, to me, the hunt is exhilarating. The hunt, and then running across it, and the record collectors call it in the wild. Like just running across it at a store and going, holy shit. And then like grabbing it, like looking around, like,
Did every?
is
Yep.
it, no one,
Did I just
is
find
this
them?
in my hand right now? Like
Yeah.
that to me is, but then there's also records like, I don't know, like I recently bought a remastered The Wall because I've been going down vinyl rabbit holes, and these
Me
guys are
too.
like, it's great to have these original pressings of Pink Floyd, but they made so many of those that
Yeah.
some of them sound like crap, no matter how good of condition they're in.
Right.
That these repressings remastered from the analog tapes are 1,000 times better. So just, if you love it, just get this. And so I've started doing that on some stuff, but yeah, I love Pink Floyd though. And to me, it's Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah. Oh, such a good one too.
Yeah, I love Dark Side of the Moon. I never get tired of it. And so when you did the wall painting, that's how our friendship started with
Yep.
that. I drove by and I saw that and I was like, that's fucking dope. And I took that picture, and maybe I'll send out some more postcards if you don't mind.
Hell yeah. Totally should.
All right.
Make your Christmas card.
Yeah, I'll do something. And no, I'm definitely going to do some Christmas shopping from your Etsy, because I am not buying a damn thing at Target or Walmart or Kohl's for Christmas.
I'm trying not to. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm going.
Got to get my epoxy somewhere.
Yeah, I'm going there for, paper towels, toilet paper, Lysol wipes. Yeah, I mean, I'm still going.
Not
there
right now. They're all sold out.
The Walmart brand wipes are just as good.
Fair enough.
But everything else, I love supporting local artists and just digging in those crates. So
well, and I should say too, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg inspired feminist designs, all of the sweatshirts that I'm selling, I'm going to give a percentage of the profit to Planned Parenthood here in Sacramento, because they definitely need it.
Awesome. All right.
Also one of my favorite.
I'm going to try to say goodbye again.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we call it from where I come from. This is the Minnesota goodbye. It takes
is this a Minnesota goodbye?
To actually say goodbye.
Oh man. Jocelyn, thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely.
This was a great chat. And
Thanks for having me.
I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Awesome.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.